properly venting a island kitchen sink is not a difficult thing to do, but with a little planning, it can be pretty simple. And we use what you can see right here behind me is called a bow vent. So let me show you how it works and why it's better than sticking a Studer vent underneath your sink. So what we have here is we have the framing for what's going to be a kitchen island, and right here is where our kitchen sink is going to drain. And what you can see that we've got the 1.5 inch drain for the kitchen sink that goes into a 2 inch drain. So the drain drops down here, but then your air vent is actually going to be coming in from the top and then going over in a bow shape and then dropping back down underneath the finished floor. So what will happen is underneath your sink's going to drain down. It'll drop into the wall right here and then drain down the main sewage line. So in order for it to get air, it's going to be pulling air from underneath, and so it goes up into this bow system and then drops back down below the floor. And so what it has to do, this vent has to connect to the vent system that goes through the roof. So let me show you where it actually goes down. So the drain drops down and runs over into the main system, the main line that runs out of the house. And this vent drops down and stays higher than this one, and I'll go down and show you, but it drops down and runs over, and it comes across and then runs up right beside this vent here. So this vent is for our washer, but as you can see, so this is the vent that's coming from the kitchen island. It's running up and then it's running across into a Y and then going up through the roof out over here. So it's got a vent that runs outside, that runs across here, that ties in and uses the same one as the washer. So in addition to that vent that's coming across in the bottom has an emergency drain. I'm going to go down underneath and show you what I mean. So you can kind of see the simple setup. So you've got your bow vent, so you've got your drain that drains down to your main waste system, and you've got your air vent that goes over in this bow style, drops down underneath the floor, and then it's going to go over and it catches this vent along here that taps into your roof vented system. So let's go underneath and take a look at where this is. So underneath the island sink, we've got the drain for the sink, and it comes down and goes into the main drain line, and then you have the bow vent where it's coming down and it's going across, and where we showed up above where it goes across, and this was the emergency drain that I told you about, but it goes across and catches the roof vent, which is teed off of this location, but here's the island vent. It goes up and it goes into that Y that ends up penetrating the roof. So back over to the island. So where that bow vent comes down and it comes across, there's a Y that goes into the main drain line. And the reason for this is because let's say that there's a stop up in this line. So this is your sink drain. So there's a stop up and it starts to fill up. And instead of spilling over your sink, it's going to go up into that bow vent, drop back down, and this is going to be water, so there's no longer going to be air. It's going to drop down, go through this line, drop across, and then drop back down into the main sewer line, and that'll prevent overflows upstairs. So you can see it's just a simple setup. It takes a little bit of planning, but once it's in place, you'll prevent this drain, if it was to ever get stopped up, from overflowing into the house and actually going through the bow vent system down and then draining through the emergency vent. Prevents that Studer vent that's underneath. And that Studer vent, it really sits up underneath the countertop here, and if it was to fill up, it just overflows inside the kitchen sink or the kitchen sink cabinet, and eventually they require replacement, and this doesn't require any kind of mechanical vent operation that fails on those things. So try a bow vent next time you're doing an island.